For many years, Earth stayed silent. The humans had joined the Galactic Council as a peaceful race. They followed the rules. They traded fairly. They helped others. But still, the galaxy saw them as weak. A soft, emotional species from a blue planet at the edge of space. And some, like the Dravak Empire, saw that weakness as an opportunity. It started with words. Insults during council meetings, jokes about human strength, laughter at Earth's old ships and slow tech. The council smiled politely, pretending it was all friendly fun. But Earth remembered. Then came the attacks. One by one, small human colonies on distant planets were destroyed. The Dravak called them accidents. Pirates, they claimed. Misunderstandings, but humans knew better. Their people were being hunted. Still, Earth waited. They sent peaceful messages. They asked for help. They warned the Council. But no one listened. Other alien races turned away, afraid to get involved with the Dravak. The humans were told to be quiet, to move on, to forgive. Then the final spark happened. It was Colony 57, the peaceful farming world on the edge of Dravak space. No weapons, no army, just families. The attack came at night. There was no warning. A Dravak destroyer dropped from hyperspace and fired without mercy. Buildings turned to ash. Skies filled with fire. The people tried to run, but they had nowhere to go. In less than 2 hours, the colony was gone. Out of 9,000 people, only 73 survived. One of them, a little girl named Ilara, sent a short message before the station's signal died. Her voice was small, shaking. "Please, someone tell Earth, we didn't do anything wrong." That message reached Earth, and this time, Earth did not stay silent. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, high above the planet, leaders from every human nation met for the first time in decades. The room was quiet, the air heavy. President Reeves stood at the center. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with anger. "They killed our children," she said. "They laughed at our warnings. They ignored our peace." She looked at the others, generals, scientists, advisors, fleet commanders. "We gave them every chance. Now, we act." There was no vote. No more talks. The humans agreed as one. Operation Silent Sky was launched. Hours later, a message was sent across the galaxy. It was short, calm, cold. To the Galactic Council and the Dravak Empire, this is Earth. We will no longer tolerate attacks on our people. This is our only warning. Do not approach our space. Do not harm our citizens. Stay away from Earth. We will not repeat ourselves. The message played once on every council channel. And then, silence. Earth shut down all communications. The humans vanished from diplomatic talks. Their trade ships stopped moving. Their ambassadors left alien planets. Earth went dark. At first, the council laughed. "Empty words," one alien senator said. "What can Earth do? They're just farmers with rockets," another joked. But as days passed, something strange began to happen. Human warships were no longer seen near known space lanes. Their satellites stopped broadcasting. Their spaceports closed. Dravak spies tried to scan Earth's space, only to find systems jammed. Invisible walls blocked their signals. One spy ship vanished near Mars orbit. No distress signal, no wreckage. The council started to worry. Dravak leaders ordered another strike to show power. A small human defense outpost was chosen. A team of elite warriors flew to attack it. But when they arrived, the outpost was already gone. Not destroyed, moved. All that was left was a strange energy signature, something no alien scientist could explain. A kind of tech no one had ever seen before. Back at the council hall, the mood had changed. The council chairman, a tall insectoid from the Galactic species, slammed his claw on the table. "Why are we still talking about humans?" he shouted. "They are weak. We are stronger. let them cry. But deep inside, many leaders felt it. Something had shifted. The humans weren't crying anymore. They were watching, waiting, planning. On Earth, deep under the ocean, in hidden bunkers and ancient vaults, something powerful had been awakened. Old ships, thought forgotten, were being restored. Weapons that had never been shown to the galaxy were powered up for the first time in centuries. Earth was no longer asking for peace. They were preparing for war. And the galaxy was not ready. The galaxy was restless. Whispers echoed in the council halls, across the star systems, and in every market where aliens gathered. The message from Earth, the cold and simple warning, had been delivered. And now it was being ignored. The Dravak Empire, confident in their strength, laughed at Earth's threat. They had seen humanity as nothing more than a primitive species with outdated technology. They assumed their dominance in the galaxy was unchallenged, and the humans were no exception. But Earth had not been idle. Underneath their peaceful facade, they had been planning, preparing, building. And now, the first signs of their power were beginning to show. The humans had never truly left the galactic stage. They had always been there, but their influence had been subtle. Their ships had always appeared unremarkable. Their weapons seemed old, even crude, compared to the advanced armadas of the Dravak and other empires. But the galaxy had underestimated them, and that was a mistake no one could afford. On Earth, the government had already begun its shift. A new era was beginning, and the quiet words of President Reeve echoed in every corner of the planet. "We are no longer the weak," she had declared in a secret address to the global leaders. "We are no longer the ones who wait. Earth will not ask for peace again. We will demand it." Across the planet, old alliances were reforged. Resources that had been stored for decades were now put to use. Technologies that had been hidden for centuries began to surface. The Earth, once a peaceful planet, was awakening to its true power. It started with the ships. Human warships, old relics of the past, began to reappear. They were massive, their hulls lined with ancient armor, scarred by decades of neglect, but still capable of destruction. They were not sleek, nor were they designed for elegance. They were made for one thing: war. Hundreds of them, all hidden in deep space docking stations, were activated. Thousands of humans, experts in their fields, were called back to their posts. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers, some from the old Earth Defense Forces, some from new generations, all with one goal in mind: to ensure Earth's survival. These ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Their weapons were powerful beyond belief, their shields almost impenetrable. They were not designed to win in a conventional war. They were designed to defend Earth, to make any invasion a deadly mistake. The Dravak Empire's spies had been following Earth's every move. They'd seen the ships emerge from their hidden docks and vanish into the unknown parts of space. But they couldn't track them. Every attempt to intercept the ships failed. It was as if they disappeared into thin air, leaving only confusion and fear behind. Still, the Dravak were confident. The Council laughed at the human threat. They believed Earth's ships were nothing more than a show of force, old relics with no real power. But the Dravak didn't understand. They didn't realize that Earth's silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. In the council chambers, a meeting was held in secret. The Dravak Empire, the dominant force in the galaxy, was growing uneasy. Reports flooded in about strange energy signatures from Earth's region of space. Signals that defied explanation. Ships that seemed to appear and vanish at will. The Dravak could no longer pretend that Earth was weak. The leaders of the council began to worry. They had always laughed at Earth's warning, but now they were beginning to see the truth. The humans were playing a game they had never expected. "Where are these ships coming from?" the Glax leader demanded, his many eyes narrowing. The humans had no fleet, nothing of this size. They must have been hiding them. A Pyrax delegate hissed. But why reveal them now? The room fell silent. The Dravak had underestimated Earth. They thought the humans were just another weak species with no power, no backbone. But the humans had been waiting. And now, the galaxy would see the consequences of their actions. Back on Earth, President Reeve stood in the command center of the newly rebuilt Earth Defense Headquarters. Her fingers hovered over a holographic map of the galaxy. She could see the movements of alien ships, the pathways of fleets that had once thought themselves untouchable. "We have a message to send," she said to the room full of officers and strategists. It's time they understood. Earth will not be bullied. We will not be ignored. The entire room fell into a deep silence. It was a moment of reckoning. No more peaceful words. No more begging for attention. The humans had made their stand. "Activate the fleet," President Reeve commanded. The fleet, hidden in the darkest corners of space, began to mobilize. Massive warships, each older than the Galactic Council itself, emerged from their secret stations. The Dravak, too sure of their superiority, had no idea that these ships were equipped with technology far beyond their understanding. Hidden in the depths of Earth's oceans and under frozen polar ice caps, these ships were waiting for the moment they would strike. The humans were no longer hiding. The time for waiting was over. As the ships powered up and began their journey toward the heart of the Dravak Empire, a deep, unshakable fear began to spread across the galaxy. Earth was not weak. Earth was not afraid. The first wave of human ships moved with a speed and precision that was terrifying. They moved like ghosts, appearing in hyperspace only when it was too late for the Dravak to react. One by one, their supply ships and patrols were picked off without warning. The attacks were surgical, flawless. It was as if Earth had been preparing for this moment for centuries. And the Dravak, they were caught completely off guard. In the heart of the Dravak Empire, news of the sudden attack spread like wildfire. Their fleets scrambled to defend their borders, but the humans were already there, striking before they had time to react. It was too late. Back on Earth, President Reeve watched the war unfold from her command center. She knew the fight was just beginning, but one thing was clear: Earth had sent its message. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. They were no longer the weak species. They were no longer the ones to be ignored. The war had begun. The stars burned brightly over the galaxy, but in the space between them, a storm was coming. The human fleet, silent, disciplined, and deadly, had crossed the invisible line. No more warnings. No more waiting. The first target was a Dravak military outpost on the edge of Sector 17, deep in their territory, but far from their central command. The humans had chosen it carefully. It was time to send a message. The outpost floated in space, confident in its defenses. Dravak commanders believed no enemy would dare attack them directly. After all, who would be foolish enough to challenge the most powerful empire in the galaxy? And yet, something was coming. A Dravak sensor officer noticed it first. Just a flicker. An energy reading too sharp, too fast to be a comet or civilian ship. "Something's here," the officer said, narrowing his 4 green eyes. "But I can't lock it." The commander scoffed. "It's probably a sensor glitch. Reset the system." But it wasn't a glitch. Seconds later, the stars above the outpost shimmered. And then, boom. A massive human warship dropped out of hyperspace. Not one, not two, 10. Each ship was dark gray, with armor so thick it looked like floating cities, and each one was armed with rail cannons, plasma missiles, and strange tech the Dravak had never seen before. The outpost raised its shields too late. The humans didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They just attacked. The first shot came from the lead human ship, named Vigilant Dawn. One rail cannon shot ripped through the Dravak's outer defense ring. The second broke the communication relay. Panic exploded inside the outpost. "Return fire!" The Dravak commanders screamed, but their weapons couldn't lock onto the human ships. The ships moved too fast, changing positions every few seconds with advanced AI guidance. Each time a Dravak ship prepared to shoot, the human vessel had already moved. One by one, Dravak defense towers were destroyed. The outpost's shield began to flicker. The human fleet moved in a perfect dance, organized, powerful, unstoppable. After 23 minutes, the battle was over. Not a single human ship was lost. The galaxy was watching. When news of the outpost's destruction reached the Galactic Council, chaos followed. "How can Earth do this?" One alien shouted. "They were weak." "They warned us," another whispered. And we laughed. Now, no one was laughing. Galactic media exploded with headlines. "Earth attacks Dravak stronghold. No survivors. Human fleet uses unknown tech to evade detection." The warning was real. Is the Dravak Empire in danger? Fear spread across every system. Even species that once ignored humans began locking down their planets and strengthening their defenses. But Earth wasn't interested in innocent worlds. Their war was with the Dravak Empire, and they had only just begun. In the secret war room beneath Earth's surface, President Reeve stood beside Admiral Dax, the man in charge of the human fleet. "The message has been delivered," Dax said. Reeve nodded. "And now? Now we hit them where it hurts." The next human target wasn't military. It was a massive Dravak weapons factory on planet Xoral V, a symbol of the Empire's power. It supplied 40% of their weapons to nearby fleets. The humans didn't want to destroy it. They wanted to steal it. Admiral Dax sent in Black Shadow Unit, a special operations team of elite soldiers trained for infiltration. These weren't ordinary humans. They were enhanced, smarter, faster, more skilled than anything the Dravak had ever seen. The mission began in silence. The Black Shadow team dropped onto Xoral V using cloaked pods that avoided every detection net. They moved through underground tunnels, disabling systems, hacking security, and planting time devices. The entire Dravak garrison didn't even know they were there until it was too late. When the humans took control of the factory, they didn't blow it up. They sent a live message to the Dravak Emperor. A tall human soldier appeared on every Dravak screen. "This is Commander Vale of Earth's Black Shadow Unit. Your weapons now belong to us. You were warned. You didn't listen. Now, you will learn." Then the feed cut, and half the Dravak fleet suddenly had no weapon supply. Across the galaxy, the balance of power shifted. Dravak colonies began to panic. Their citizens demanded protection. Their soldiers grew afraid. Morale dropped. And whispers of rebellion started inside the Empire itself. All because of the humans. A species the galaxy once mocked was now showing its true strength. And no one could stop them. But Earth wasn't celebrating yet. In a private meeting with her top advisors, President Reeve remained serious. "They'll come for us now," she said. "They'll attack Earth directly." Admiral Dax agreed. "And we'll be ready." High above Earth, the planet's final defense line was being activated. Massive platforms armed with graviton cannons, orbital mines cloaked in stealth, and Project Helios, a weapon that had been kept secret for generations. The humans knew the Dravak would soon launch a full-scale retaliation, and they were ready to make their stand. Far across the stars, the Dravak Emperor slammed his clawed hand on the command table. "We will crush them," he roared. "Earth will burn for this." But deep inside, even he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Because now, the humans weren't just part of the war. They were the war. And they were just getting started. The stars were quiet in the vastness of space, but a storm was growing. After the strike on Xoral V, the Dravak Empire had been shaken to its core. They had underestimated humanity, and now their once unshakable confidence was starting to crack. Whispers of defeat began to spread across the Empire, reaching even the farthest corners of the galaxy. The Emperor's throne had never seemed so fragile. But the humans weren't done. not by a long shot. In the heart of Earth's military command center, President Reeves stood with Admiral Dax, watching the live feeds of Dravak retaliation preparations. The human fleet was ready for what would come next, but even they had to acknowledge the growing storm. The Dravak were coming for Earth, and they were bringing everything. The humans knew what was at stake. The war wasn't just about stopping an empire, it was about survival. If the Dravak succeeded in defeating Earth, it wouldn't just be a loss. It would be the beginning of an era where humanity was wiped out, erased from the galaxy's history. That's why Earth had prepared something the galaxy had never seen before. In a hidden, underground facility beneath the Arctic ice, a project so secret that even most of Earth's leaders didn't know about it was nearing completion. A project that could turn the tide in humanity's favor. It was called Project Helios. Admiral Dax, dressed in his uniform, addressed the room full of scientists and top generals. His voice was steady, but there was an edge of urgency in it. The Dravak think we're weak. They don't understand what we've built. A scientist named Dr. Elena Reyes spoke up. Helios is ready, sir. It's the most powerful weapon we've ever constructed. But activating it will be dangerous. Dangerous. Dax raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? Dr. Reyes glanced at her notes before looking back at him. It's a star-based weapon. Helios can concentrate energy at a level we've never seen before, powerful enough to destroy an entire fleet, maybe even a planet. But once it's fired, it will drain Earth's resources. We may not be able to use it again. So once we fire it, we can't stop it. Dax asked, his tone serious. Yes, sir, Dr. Rice confirmed. But if we don't fire it now, we risk losing Earth forever. Admiral Dax turned to President Reeve, who had been silent up to this point. She nodded slowly, her face set in grim determination. Activate it. We'll take the risk. Humanity won't go down without a fight. As the decision was made, deep in the heart of the Dravak Empire, Emperor Zoreth paced restlessly across his command chamber. His military advisors were gathered around, their heads low, knowing the situation was dire. We cannot ignore these humans any longer, Zoreth growled. Their fleet has crippled us. Our weapon factories are in ruins, and now they have the audacity to attack us in our own home systems. I want them dead. Now, a general stepped forward, fear and anger evident in his voice. Emperor, we have gathered every available fleet in the galaxy. The humans will pay for their insolence. But what if they have more surprises in store? Zoreth turned sharply to the general, his eyes blazing with fury. We've already taken every precaution. The general responded quickly. We'll crush them with overwhelming force. They won't stand a chance. Zoreth's eyes narrowed. Good. Make sure that no human vessel survives. Back on Earth, a countdown had begun. The Helios device was ready, a massive spherical energy cannon, buried deep in the frozen ice, aimed upward toward space. Its power was beyond anything humanity had ever dared to imagine, so powerful that it could reshape the balance of the galaxy. President Reeves stood before the control panel, her face bathed in the pale glow of the room's lights. She took a deep breath. Are you sure about this? Dax asked quietly, stepping beside her. Once we fire it, we can't undo it. Reeve glanced at him, her expression resolute. If we don't fire it, humanity won't survive. She looked back at the panel. The countdown was ticking down. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3. The human fleet had taken positions at the edges of the solar system, ready to face the Dravak head-on. But Earth's final defense lay with Helios. The fleet would distract the Dravak while Helios charged. The weapon's energy buildup would take several minutes, but once it reached full power, nothing would be able to stand against it. Meanwhile, the Dravak forces were closing in on Earth's outer defenses. Thousands of ships swarmed toward the human homeworld, their weapons primed and ready to strike. The Dravak had sent their best fleet, armed with everything they had left. But they had no idea what was coming. At the edge of the solar system, The human fleet held its position, silent and ready. Commander Vale, leader of the fleet, stared at the incoming Dravik ships through his ship's view screen. His crew was tense, but they were focused. The time to strike was coming. "This is it," Vale said, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. "Remember, our job is to keep them off Earth long enough for Helios to charge. Once it fires, we make our stand." The crew nodded in unison. "Understood, sir." The first Dravak ship appeared on the edge of Earth's system, and the battle began. The human ships engaged with precise, deadly force. Their rail guns and plasma cannons tore through the first wave of Dravak ships. For every Dravak vessel that fell, 2 more replaced it. The Dravak outnumbered the humans, but the humans had something the Dravak never expected: coordination, determination, and a secret weapon waiting to be unleashed. Inside the control room beneath the ice, President Reeves' heart raced as the countdown neared its end. "Helios is at full charge," Dr. Rice reported. "Activated," Reeve commanded, her voice unyielding. Above Earth, the stars exploded into light. A beam of concentrated energy erupted from the Helios device, ripping through the darkness of space. The energy was unlike anything seen before, a flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns, streaking across the heavens, heading straight for the Dravik fleet. The beam hit its target. The explosion was deafening. It shook the entire solar system, sending shockwaves that reached every corner of space. The first wave of Dravak ships disintegrated in an instant. Nothing was left but a cloud of vaporized debris. The humans had done it. They had fired Helios. The Dravik fleet, already battered from their initial assault, watched in disbelief as their ships vanished in an instant. They had never seen power like this. The battle was over before it truly began. The human fleet had won. And the galaxy had learned a terrifying truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The galaxy trembled with the shockwave of Helios' blast. As the light faded from space, only the lifeless wreckage of Dravak ships floated in the cold void. The humans had done the impossible. They had dealt a blow to the once unconquerable Dravak Empire. But the war was far from over. In the heart of Earth's command center, Admiral Dax stood, staring at the display screen. The vast majority of the Dravak fleet had been destroyed, but a small contingent of ships had managed to escape. The remaining Dravak forces were regrouping. They were angry, vengeful, and more determined than ever to bring humanity to its knees. "We've won the battle, but the war isn't over," Admiral Dax said, his voice steady yet tinged with concern. President Reeve, who had watched the events unfold from her command post, nodded. "The Dravak may have lost their fleet, but they have the resources of an entire empire. They will return, and they will strike harder." "Then we'll be ready," Dax replied. Across the stars, in the heart of the Dravak Empire, Emperor Zoreth fumed. His once proud fleet was in ruins. His advisors were silent, not daring to speak the truth that all of them knew. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. "How could this happen?" Zoreth growled, pacing in his throne room. "We underestimated them. No, we mocked them. And now we've paid the price." His general, a towering figure named Korath, stepped forward. "My lord, the humans have taken down the majority of our forces, but we still have a fleet remaining. We have the resources to rebuild. We can strike back." Zoreth turned to Korath, his eyes burning with fury. "Rebuild? Do you honestly think we can simply rebuild after this humiliation? We need to act now. We need to destroy Earth and make them pay for their insolence." "But how?" Korath asked, his voice heavy with doubt. "Their defenses are stronger than we imagined. Their weapon, Helios, has the power to obliterate us. We can't risk another direct attack." Zoreth's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll use something they don't expect. We'll strike from the shadows. We'll use their own arrogance against them." Korath raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, my lord?" Zoreth smiled darkly. "The humans have shown their strength. Now we will show them that even the strongest can fall. We will attack Earth using guerrilla tactics, disrupting their systems from within. We won't give them a chance to fight back. And when the time is right, we'll finish what we started. On Earth, Admiral Dax and President Reeve were preparing for the worst. The Dravak might have been beaten back, but the cost of victory was high. Helios had taken a heavy toll on Earth's resources, and the fleet was still recovering from the battle. There was no time to waste. "We can't let them regroup," Dax said, pointing to the tactical display. "If we give them time, they'll come back stronger than ever. We need to go on the offensive." Reeve nodded. "I agree. We've got one shot at this. We hit them now, while they're weak, and we don't stop until they're completely crippled." Dax leaned forward. "I've been thinking. We don't know exactly where the remaining Dravak fleet is, but we do know one thing. They're planning something big. They won't stay hidden forever. So we'll track them down," Reeve said firmly. "Our fleet is ready. We'll use the full force of Earth's military might to hunt them down." The next few days passed in a blur of strategy and preparation. The remaining Dravak fleet had gone to ground, but Earth's fleet was relentless in its pursuit. Using their superior technology and relentless determination, they tracked down the Dravak ships one by one, cutting off their escape routes and making their every move a calculated risk. Despite their superior numbers, the Dravak were being slowly whittled away. The humans knew that victory was within reach, but they had to be cautious. Every strike had to be precise, every move deliberate. Admiral Dax stood in the command center, watching as the fleet moved closer to their final confrontation with the Dravak. His fingers hovered over the controls, his mind focused entirely on the task at hand. "Are we ready?" President Reeve asked, her voice calm but carrying the weight of the entire planet's future. "We are," Dax replied. "Once we locate their main fleet, we'll strike with everything we have. We'll destroy them once and for all." Days later, the humans' persistence paid off. Earth's fleet finally located the remnants of the Dravak fleet, hiding in the shadow of a gas giant. The Dravak had been regrouping, gathering what forces they had left in a last-ditch effort to reclaim their lost pride. But they were no match for Earth's focused might. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. Human ships surrounded the Dravak fleet, and the once great empire found itself trapped, with no way to escape. Earth's fleet moved in with surgical precision, tearing through the Dravak defenses and cutting their ships apart one by one. The Dravak had nowhere to run. But the Dravak weren't finished yet. With a final act of desperation, they launched everything they had left at Earth's fleet. Fury and fire in the form of a massive energy blast aimed directly at Earth. It was a last-ditch effort to bring down the planet that had defied them. The blast was powerful, and for a moment, it seemed as though nothing could stop it. But Earth's fleet had a secret weapon, something the Dravak had never expected. "Activate the shield," Admiral Dax ordered. A shimmering, invisible energy barrier sprang into existence, protecting Earth's fleet from the incoming blast. The Dravak's final attempt to destroy humanity fizzled out as the shield absorbed the energy and redirected it back at their fleet. The Dravak ships that remained were obliterated in a blinding flash of light. The battle was over. The Dravak Empire was no more. On Earth, a wave of relief washed over the command center. It was over. The war that had started with humanity standing alone against the might of the galaxy had ended in victory. The Dravak, once thought to be invincible, had been utterly defeated. President Reeve let out a long breath, her face showing the weariness of the past months. "We did it," she whispered, almost to herself. Admiral Dax smiled, but there was no joy in his eyes. "Yes, but we must never forget. The galaxy saw us as weak once, but now they know who we are, and we've made a new enemy, the universe itself." Reeve nodded slowly. "Yes, and we will be ready for whatever comes next." The victory against the Dravak had been sweet, but it was only the beginning. The galaxy had learned one thing that day. Humanity was no longer a race to be underestimated. And now, Humanity's place in the cosmos had been forever changed. The victory over the Dravak Empire was a turning point, a pivotal moment in the history of humanity. Earth stood tall in the face of overwhelming odds, proving that when humans were pushed to the brink, they could rise up and become a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. Yet, despite the triumph, a dark cloud hung over humanity. The battle had been won, but the war for respect and survival was far from over. President Reeve paced the length of her office, her eyes glued to the screen showing the results of the latest surveillance reports. The war with the Dravak had ended, but in its wake, a chilling silence had settled across the stars. Across the galaxy, the other races and empires watched Earth's every move, waiting to see how this new and seemingly unpredictable species would act. Admiral Dax stood beside her, his gaze intense as he reviewed the tactical data from Earth's fleet. The Dravak were defeated, but there were other threats out there. The universe had noticed humanity's rise, and they were waiting for the right moment to strike. "Do you think they'll come for us next?" Reeve asked quietly, her voice betraying the concern she tried to mask. Dax didn't hesitate. "Yes, I do. The galaxy doesn't like being shown that it can be beaten. The Dravak thought they were invincible, and now their empire is gone. That won't sit well with the others. Some will want to challenge us. Others will want to make sure we never rise again." Reeve let out a deep sigh. "So we wait for them to come?" "No," Dax replied firmly. "We don't wait. We prepare. We show them that we are not the ones they can push around anymore. Earth may have defeated the Dravak, but the real battle is just beginning." In the distant reaches of the galaxy, the other great empires stirred. The message sent by Earth's victory had not gone unnoticed. The Intergalactic Council, which had once dismissed humanity as a primitive race, now found themselves uneasy. They had watched as the Dravak, the most fearsome empire in the galaxy, crumbled under the might of humanity's fleet. Whispers spread across the stars. Would Earth be a new power in the galaxy? Or was this just a fluke, an isolated victory that could be erased with time? One such council member, a representative of the Zorethians, a race known for their advanced technology and brutal conquests, stood before his peers. The Dravak were foolish to underestimate humanity. Now they are gone. We must ensure that we do not make the same mistake. Another representative, a proud member of the Varlock dynasty, spoke up. "It's too early to say. One battle doesn't change the balance of power, but we must remain vigilant. Humanity has proven they can fight, and if they continue to grow stronger, they may become a real threat." Across the galaxy, the same discussions were taking place. While many of the empires were hesitant to act directly, some began to quietly rally their forces. Earth had earned a temporary reprieve, but it was clear that the peace would not last. Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. Humanity had secured its survival against the Dravak, but the reality of the galactic stage was ever present. Dax and Reeve knew that Earth's fleet had proven its worth, but they also understood that they couldn't rest on their laurels. The galaxy was vast, and there were far more powerful forces out there waiting for a chance to assert their dominance. "Admiral," Reeve said, turning to Dax as she watched the final data streams from Earth's defense systems, "we need to prepare for the worst. We know the Dravak were just the beginning." Dax nodded, his expression grim. "I've already begun the process. The fleet is expanding, and we're fortifying our borders. But it won't be enough. We need allies." "Who will ally with us?" Reeve asked. "The galaxy is full of races that would love to see us wiped out. We've made enemies, not friends." "We've made allies too," Dax replied. "There are factions that look to Earth as a beacon of strength. The Iridians, the Cormac, and even the Tikari may consider joining us if we offer them the right terms." "We don't have time to negotiate alliances," Reeve said, frustration creeping into her voice. "We need to act now before the galaxy turns its gaze fully on us." "We will," Dax said. But we need to show them that Earth is not just some new power to be reckoned with. We need to make them understand that we are a force of nature, and anyone who stands in our way will face the consequences. In the darkness of space, an armada gathered. The Zorathians, the Varlock, and many others who had witnessed the Dravak's fall began to make their preparations. They knew that humanity's rise could not go unchallenged. They were waiting for the perfect moment, but the time for caution was running out. The galaxy had just learned that Earth could fight and win. But what the rest of the galaxy didn't know was that humanity wasn't just prepared for another fight. They were ready to take the fight to the galaxy itself. Admiral Dax stood before Earth's War Council, his mind focused on the battle ahead. We've received intel that a coalition of galactic powers is mobilizing against us. They will be coming soon. We don't know their full strength, but we know this. They fear us. We're ready for them, Reeve said, her voice filled with confidence. We will not be the ones to back down. We have to be more than ready, Dax responded. We need to strike first, and we need to do it with everything we have. This is no longer just a fight for survival. This is about asserting our place in the galaxy. We will not be the prey anymore. Across the stars, the forces of the galaxy began to move. Earth had proven that it could fight, but the rest of the galaxy was determined to show that no one race could ever dominate the cosmos. But one thing was certain. Humanity had proven its strength, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy was about to learn a painful lesson. Never underestimate the will of humanity. The tension in the galaxy was palpable. News of humanity's rise had spread like wildfire across the stars, and the once confident empires that had laughed at Earth's potential were now on edge. The Zorathians, the Varlock, and countless other races that had dismissed Earth as insignificant were now faced with the undeniable truth. Humanity was not a force to be taken lightly. Admiral Dax stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, watching as the final preparations were made for the upcoming battle. The Earth fleet, now bolstered by new allies and advanced technology, was ready for whatever came their way. In the briefing room, President Reeve and the top military advisors stood around a holographic display, examining the positions of their enemies. We've intercepted communications from the enemy fleets, Dax said, his voice grim. The coalition of galactic powers is coming, and they've gathered a fleet larger than anything we've ever faced. But we've also got something they don't have, a will to survive, and a willingness to fight for our place in the galaxy. Reeve nodded, her eyes cold with determination. We didn't come this far just to back down now. Earth has shown its strength. Now we show them our power. The room fell silent, each person in the room understanding the gravity of the situation. The decision to engage the enemy was not an easy one, but it was a necessary one. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now it was time to prove that Earth would not simply survive, it would thrive. Dax's voice broke the silence. We have to hit them first. We need to strike before they can fully assemble their forces. Our fleet may be smaller, but our tactics and our resolve are unmatched. This will be our chance to take the fight to them. President Reeve's eyes met Dax's, a spark of defiance in her gaze. Then let's give them a fight they'll never forget. They made a mistake when they thought humanity was weak. Now, they'll see the true power of Earth. The time for waiting was over. The first wave of enemy fleets, a coalition of forces from across the galaxy, had arrived. Their ships, massive and imposing, loomed like shadows across the void. The human fleet, though smaller, was sleek, deadly, and far more agile. Each ship was equipped with cutting-edge technology, and the Earth fleet had learned from the Dravak conflict. No mistake would be repeated. Admiral Dax stood on the bridge, his eyes glued to the battle monitors as the first shots rang out. The enemy fleet, confident in their overwhelming numbers, charged forward, expecting an easy victory. What they didn't expect was the ferocity and precision of humanity's attack. The Earth fleet moved like a well-oiled machine, every maneuver calculated, every shot fired with deadly accuracy. Humanity's ships darted in and out of enemy fire, dodging and weaving with an agility that seemed almost impossible for such large vessels. The first wave of enemy ships, expecting to crush the humans, found themselves in a deadly dance they were unprepared for. "They're fighting back harder than we expected," a Zorathian commander muttered as his fleet took heavy fire. "It's as if they've anticipated our every move." "It's not just anticipation," his subordinate replied. "It's strategy. These humans are better organized than we thought." The battle raged on, and slowly, the tide began to turn. Earth's fleet, despite being outnumbered, was carving through the enemy lines with precision. The initial shock of the first strike had thrown the enemy off balance, and now humanity was taking full advantage. As the battle progressed, the enemy forces began to falter. Their ships, once confident in their superior numbers, were now falling one by one. Each human ship was a symbol of defiance, a testament to the power of a species that had once been underestimated. The galaxy was beginning to realize that they had made a grave mistake. Back on Earth, the news of the victory spread like wildfire. People across the planet watched in awe as the human fleet fought back the coalition of galactic powers. The images of Earth's ships soaring through space, striking down the enemy, were broadcast live. The world held its breath as the battle reached its climax. President Reeve, her eyes fixed on the screen, could see the last remnants of the enemy fleet beginning to retreat. The galactic powers, once so sure of their dominance, were now running for their lives. The humans had shown them that Earth was not a planet to be trifled with. "We've done it," Dax said quietly, his voice filled with awe. "We've won." Reeve's face softened, but there was no joy in her expression. "This is just the beginning. The galaxy will never forget what happened here today, and the next time someone tries to challenge Earth, we'll be ready." The final shots rang out across the galaxy, and the once proud fleets of the Galactic Coalition were scattered into the void. Humanity had emerged victorious, but the victory came at a cost. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Earth had proved that it was no longer a weak, defenseless planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. Admiral Dax watched as the final enemy ships retreated into the darkness of space. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy had just begun. As Earth's fleet began to regroup and return home, Dax knew one thing for certain. Humanity had just made its mark on the galaxy, and from this day forward, the universe would think twice before underestimating Earth. The galaxy had learned a painful lesson: never challenge humanity.